Welcome back, dear viewers, to another instalment of our wildly ambitious Victorian house renovation, where chaos meets charm in equal measure. We're delighted to have you with us on this fine Dartmoor morning, especially as the sun has finally emerged after its customary sulk behind the clouds. And what impeccable timing! Today happens to be one's birthday. A rather fitting occasion for a bit of sunshine, a touch of optimism, and perhaps a celebratory slice of cake between bouts of brick dust and damp rot. As always, we're busy with a multitude of renovation tasks, juggling timbers, tools, and a to-do list that seems to breed in the night. Today's episode features a delightfully mixed bag of progress. One of our noble chimneys receives a well-deserved fresh coat of render, a little spa treatment for the house, if you will. There's some delicate timber surgery. We remove sections of wet rot from the kitchen window, lovingly restoring what we can and bidding a fond farewell to the bits beyond saving. And in a glorious finale, we head straight out the back door for a walk on the open moor, where lambs frolic, larks sing, and wide skies remind us why we chose this wild, wonderful place in the first instance. So, kettle on, feet up, and join us as we chip away at history, one dusty corner at a time. Now then, let's begin. When we purchased the house, it was evident that water had been getting in around several stacks, largely thanks to some rather questionable lead work from years gone by. We had a few excellent builders over to assess the situation and quote for the job, a quote we were pleased to discover that wasn't astronomical and included all the necessary scaffolding. However, our roof is not exactly petite, and with 4 sizable chimneys, the total cost would inevitably mount. Some of the render had blown, meaning it was hollow behind and allowing water to seep in. Not ideal in a house that already enjoys a somewhat damp microclimate. This meant full removal and re-rendering would be required. After a few cups of tea in front of the fire and a brief family summit, we reached a swift conclusion. We would do the work ourselves. Scaffolding was purchased, an investment, we reasoned, that would pay dividends as we tackle the many windows that also require restoration, painting, and the occasional word of encouragement. Hiring scaffolding every time a slate slips or a sill peels is not a game we care to play. With a fair bit of this and a generous dash of that, Watson swung into action, and before I could say spanner, the scaffolding on the east side of the house was standing proud, and all of the scaffolding boards were in place. A few more ladder shuffles, lots of tightening of fixings, a bit of straightening, and lots of spirited manoeuvres later, the other side was up too. Watson, with Watson Senior in tow, got stuck right into the job. Now, we must say, we're fairly handy folk. We seek proper advice, source the correct products, and combine this with our past experience in house renovation, alongside Watson Senior, who has rendered many a surface on his own properties over time. We simply decided to get on with it and get it done. Over the weekend, the old render was removed piece by piece. The top flaunching was so crumbly and flaky that when Watson came to remove it, it came off in one large piece. The best course of action was decided after a little bit of debate about best practice. A little more grinding and smoothing took place. The sides and corners were prepped, allowing the Watson duo to carefully fold upwards the lead skirt, making way for reinforced corner sections to be added above and below, ready for the render to be applied. At this point, the original red brick was completely exposed and looking rather fabulous in all its glory. Sealant applied, and a crisp, well-finished new render was put in place, one careful level and trowel at a time. The lead will be neatly folded back down in the coming days, sealed with new lead sealant to ensure the chimney is once again watertight. Of course, the utmost care and precision was taken, as both of the Watsons are perfectionists, as one would expect. Finally, a fresh coat of paint will bring it all together, a rather dashing look, we think. Our brilliant chimney sweep came by for a final inspection, gave us a hearty thumbs up, and placed the new royal anti-downdraft cowl atop the terracotta pot. We are at last weatherproof once more. Now we take a moment to pause, turn, and soak in the sweeping panorama that we have from our roof. Dartmoor in all its splendid, untamed glory and simply epic views that we love. Another of this week's tasks saw us begin our long-anticipated window restoration journey. While most of our windows aren't in terrible shape, years of Dartmoor weather and the occasional crow with a vendetta against window putty have left their mark. Small areas of wear and tear, the odd nibble of wet rot, and a general call for care can be found in nearly every frame. With a rare spell of sunshine on our side, it felt only right to make a start. And what better place to begin than with the worst window of them all, the one boasting the largest, most theatrical patch of rot in the house. Armed with a modest arsenal of tools and a mission to preserve or replicate the window's original mouldings, I began by tackling the sills, shaving off the old, cracked paint, and clearing the corners of years of accumulated layers. With that groundwork done, I moved on to the most challenging window of the lot. This required the delicate extraction of several shaped mouldings, each carefully set aside and earmarked for matching or reproduction. Then came the real business, cutting, chiselling, and carefully digging out the rotten timber, layer by stubborn layer. The aim, to let the frame breathe and dry out fully before any rebuilding begins. As with all things at our house, this process will take time. After all, one can't expect to rebuild a century-old window in an afternoon. But rest assured, we shall return to it, one measured slice of timber at a time. After a rather industrious morning, we set off, straight out the back door and up onto the open moor. Through our little copse of trees we go, the ground below a bright green carpet that would make even the most refined lawn blush. Ahead, the old gate swings open, and just like that, Dartmoor greets us. Foxgloves line our path, standing tall and slightly smug in the sunshine. Our shadows wave cheerily to the camera, ever the enthusiastic extras. The Devonport leek glistens just beyond our boundary wall, framed by granite blocks and flanked by more foxgloves who clearly got the colour memo. Watson ambles along the top of an old granite wall, past windswept trees and centuries-old stones, with more stories than time to tell them. We peer down at the water, fresh, flowing, and looking wonderfully alive. A flock of woolly-faced sheep keep one eye on us, the other firmly on their lunch. Another gate, a few ferns, a pause for flowers, and onwards we stroll, into a paddock of opinionated sheep who have much to say about our arrival. A lone lamb bleats across the field, locating its mother in a heartfelt reunion that could bring a tear to the stoniest of granite hearts. And then, higher we go, out onto the open moor where the wind meets the sky. I pause to pick up a stray tuft of wool, and wonder aloud, if we collected enough of this, could we insulate the entire house with Dartmoor fleece? Tempting, though it might take a month or two of dedicated sheep stalking. Watson marches ahead, the grass is brushing past us as we walk, and just when I thought the treasures had all been found, a shard of old ceramic appears underfoot, a long-lost relic, or possibly last week's saucer. But as ever, it has a story, and whether it's fascinating or fictitious, we're keeping it. On we go, quickly spotting a family of jet-black Dartmoor cows trotting along the horizon like a scene from a windswept western. We continue our walk, up and down historic mounds, the sort that surely conceal a Sherlockian mystery or two. A sharp right turn leads us to a flock of larks dancing across the skies, guiding us straight to the cows and their calves once more. Through another gate, latched firmly of course, we're met again by the flock of sheep. They are regrettably unimpressed by our return. With a distinct air of disapproval, they wait for us to pass so they can resume their evening's grass-cutting session. The lambs, meanwhile, play hide-and-seek in the long grass, their tiny heads popping up and down like spring-loaded toys. One more gate, and we follow the path to the Devonport leat once again. The water sparkles, clear and determined, winding its way through tall grass and wild meadow. A soft hue of magenta hovers over the landscape, wild grasses and foxgloves joining forces in seasonal splendour. To our side, a tucked-away meadow hums with birdsong, a quiet haven for feathered guests and a daily joy for us to behold. And finally, one last gift from the day, an absolutely glorious sunset, just as we step back through the door from whence we came. We look forward to having you join us here again soon. Subscribe below to follow and support us on our journey.